Today I'm going to show you how you can line dry your clothes outside here. We're going to go through the entire process step by step from setup until you have your clothes nice and dried and back inside. First of all, why would you line dry your clothes outside instead of just tossing them into the dryer? Well, there are a lot of benefits to drying clothes outside. Not only is it a lot more gentle on your clothes and can increase their lifetime significantly, but on top of this, it is also very ecologically and economically friendly for you to do so. Actually, the dryer itself can actually consume up to 8% of the electricity that your household uses. So if you're able to take some of the clothes outside and dry them here, you're going to save a lot in the long run. Now, before we get started with actual hanging of the garments, I'm going to give you some good tips here so that you can avoid some pitfalls like bird poop, for one thing. So the first thing that you want to do here when you find a clothing line, if you don't have one, I'm going to make some recommendations, by the way. I like these carousel lines like this. Doesn't take up so much space, but a regular line is fine too. The most important thing is that you find a line that is protective for the clothes. You don't want to get, for example, a freaking barbed wire or something, right? You want something that's really nice and gentle on the garments themselves and is not going to transfer anything to the actual garment. What we want to do first of all is find a place where there is a lot of open and free air that can flow through. Now, it doesn't need to be like this here completely open, but ideally you don't want it to be like an enclosed space where no air can circulate around. That is one of the most important things when you're going to dry your clothes, that there is a lot of circulation. Not only that, but you also want to find a place where there is actual sun shining, which is fantastic. It's kind of a miracle here in Norway that there actually is sun here. So we're lucky it's a summer day here. You can dry clothes in other seasons as well, but it is going to significantly slow down the time. Now, on the topic of sun, you don't want to hang your clothes anywhere near trees. Generally, you will find that trees not only causes shade, but birds as well love trees. And you know, when birds eat, they also have to poop, so not ideal, right? And of course, you want to stay away from any highways or big roads, anywhere there is going to be a lot of dust. Also, if your neighbor is, for example, doing barbecue right next to you, just be aware that your clothes are going to smell like barbecue once you get them back inside, right? So once you've gotten yourself a nice and sturdy line and a good place to place it here, we are going to start with the actual process of preparing the line itself. So what you want to do here is, first of all, you want to wipe down all of the line. I generally just use something like, this is just a regular rag that is a little bit damp. We're going to do this because, first of all, it's going to clean up the line so that we don't get a lot of stains on our newly washed clothes, right? Beyond that, we can also remove, for example, if there is any mold growth on the line, we want to get rid of that as well so that our clothes don't end up moldy. So I think that should be sufficient for our use here. As for the rag itself, we can just hang it up to dry as well, or you can wash it again and have it ready for next time. So the next step here is that we need to get our pegs ready. Now, there are a lot of different pegs out on the market. These ones in particular are made of plastic. This is not ideal. The wooden ones are more eco-friendly because these are going to break down eventually and you will have a lot of plastic and waste. The tree ones are a lot easier to repair as well. Sadly, I don't have any available. This isn't my line. I'm just borrowing it for the video. Now, whether you have wooden or plastic pegs, you should always bring them back inside once you're done using them. You don't want to, like I see people around, they leave their pegs like this. Now, this isn't good. Like we talked about earlier, there's going to be dirt and mold building up here. And if you're going to leave your pegs outside or on the line itself, they're going to be dirty too, right? And you don't want to put dirty pegs on your newly clean clothes. Imagine you have a really white, nice t-shirt and you put something full of dirt on top of it for half a day. Not ideal. All right, so we now have our line ready. We have our pegs ready. What are we missing? Well, we're missing the clothes, right? So I want to give you a few tips that you can use while you're washing the clothes so that you can make the process here more effective and give you better results. First of all, don't overstuff your washing machine when you're doing the actual washing. It's not going to clean the clothes properly, but if you do that, you can also end up with a bunch of creases on the garments since they're so squeezed tightly together. On top of that, I would also say that if you're going to do multiple loads in one day, start with the heavier garments, you know, jeans, towels, thick items that take a long time to dry. While the next load is running, they have time to get a little bit of head start since they're going to take longer to dry. That way, once you have your t-shirts ready, you can hang them up as well. They don't require as much time. So once you're done washing your clothes, there is a trick you can do. It's a setting on some newer washing machines and dryers called air dry. Essentially, it just spins the clothes with pure air. It doesn't heat up the air, so you're not going to consume a lot of resources. You're still going to consume some, but that is going to help prevent creasing. And you know, when sometimes you line dry your clothes and they come out feeling kind of like they're stiff, when you're done drying them. This is also going to help prevent that. Anyway, that's an optional step. What you want to do next, once you have your clothes out, is to give them a good shake. That includes all of them. For example, if you have a t-shirt that is kind of crumbled up, you want to straighten it out nicely. It's going to be a lot more easy to work with them now that they're wet compared to when they dry. If they dry up and have creases, it's very hard to get those creases out of the garments without having to do something like ironing, for example. Now, for white clothes that we're going to hang outside, you can skip this tip. But for any other garments like these ones, these are black shorts. And if I leave them hanging like this on the line, what's going to happen is that the sun is going to slowly but surely bleach them and kind of break down the fabric. Now, a little bit of a trick that you can do to prevent this from happening is just turn the clothes inside out. So that's going to go for all your colored clothes, whether they're just slightly colored or they're vividly colored. Turn them inside out and you're going to increase the durability of your clothes over time. All right, so the time has finally come. I'm going to show you how you can hang each and every one of your individual garments. So not to be discouraging, but let's start with the most horrible one, which is jeans. Now, personally, I would not encourage hanging jeans if at all possible. They are so heavy, but if you insist on hanging them, make sure that you turn them inside out first of all. And then you want to hang them from the waistline. As you can see, I've hung them from the butt area of the waist, and I've used as much as 5 pegs on them. This is because this is very heavy fabric. If you have lighter jeans, you can probably get away with 3. Usually in the belt loops is the easiest place to get them hanging. But yeah, like I said, this one is a little bit tricky. Next here, I'm going to move on to more regular pants. As you can see, I've turned them inside out as well, and I've hung them from the legs here. The reason I've hung them like this is that it lines up along with the hem down there so that you get the pants stretched out the correct way. You can do this for all other pants that are not super heavy, like the jeans here. So that is going to include your slacks, joggers, khakis, anything that's not heavy really. Moving on here, we have a regular shirt. So as you can see, I've not turned this one inside out because this one is so easy to hang like this directly on a hanger. So that once it's done drying, I can just take it off and it's pretty much ready for storage, right? As you can see here, I've hung the hanger on the actual line, and I've taken a peg as well to just kind of secure it in place, just to make things easier. One thing that's very important when you're hanging shirts, that is going to include really anything with shoulders, is that if you're going to hang them on a hanger, make sure that the hanger is a little bit longer and preferably a little thick as well, so you don't get the little bumps in the shoulder. Doesn't look so good, so yeah, try to avoid that at all costs. Moving on here, we have a t-shirt, in this case a white t-shirt. So Tor, why have you not turned it inside out? Well, because I actually don't mind that the sun kind of bleaches the white garments. I take it as an advantage here. Also, t-shirts I have hung from the hem at the bottom of the t-shirt instead of taking them onto a hanger. But as you can see here, I have a black t-shirt as well that I've hung on a hanger in a similar style that we did with the collared shirt back there. Since it's black though, I've turned it inside out. The reason we're not hanging it from the shoulders again is that if you even hang this on the pegs from the shoulders, it's going to make that little bit of mark up there. So this is going to be perfect. Try to stretch them out to each of the ends as much as possible. That's also going to help decrease, creases. Decrease creases. I will say one thing, these ones are hung a little bit too close. If it weren't for the example here, I would probably hang this so that each of the garments have a little bit of room between them. This way there is not going to be as much humidity in the air between them. Also, they have more space to kind of breathe, the wind to flow through. So yeah, give them a little bit of space. Moving on here we have a skirt. Not mine, I borrowed my sister's skirt, just to make that very clear. This one is wrung inside out first because of the color, and I have hung it from the waist as well. So as you can see, I've stretched it out there and I've hung it from both sides of the waist. And I also added an extra peg where the zipper is, just to keep it together. But you can zipper it up as well and just hang it without that peg there. Moving on here, we are also coming to my sister's dress. As you can see, I've hung this directly onto a clothing hanger in the same style that we did with the dressy shirts and that t-shirt. You really shouldn't hang the dresses on a clothing line. It's much better to just hang them directly onto a clothing hanger and then peg that hanger onto the line itself to, again, preserve the shape. You don't want little marks on your dresses at all. And here comes the big daddy, the heavy duty wash towel here. As you can see, the towel, it's so thick. It's very thick. So first of all, you never want to fold them over. Then it's going to take forever to dry them. So I've just kind of rung it over the edge here and I've pegged it down like this. You can't really just hang it straight down. It's so heavy that it's just going to fall to the ground eventually if you do that. Once there comes a little bit of wind, it's just going to fall down. So use as little fold as possible, but fold it over. As you can see here, I've used 4 on this single towel. Should probably be enough. I'm tempted to do 5 though, I will say. Again, this is a white towel. You don't really have any choice with the towels. You can't turn them inside out or anything. So you just have to deal with the fact that they may bleach a little bit. And here we have my underwear hung up as well. You want to hang these from the waist as well. Again, the goal here is to preserve the shape of the garments. You don't want to get those little creases hanging here. So kind of stretch it out and hang it like this. Again, you could turn this inside out, but this is my underwear, so I don't really care, to be honest with you. Moving on here to something a little bit more exciting, well, I think anyway, the socks. So as you can see, I have kind of placed the socks together. That way it's going to be much easier once you're done drying them. You don't have to look through everyone. And that is one thing as well. Once you're done with the socks, just hold them together. That way you don't need to do a treasure hunt for the other sock every time once you're going to start holding them together. Now, as you can see, I've hung the socks from the toes here. That is just to preserve the waistband a little bit further. And I've given them a little bit of distance here so they have some air between them. This is a good distance between the clothes, I would say. And next here, just as with the underwear, you can see I have hung my shorts here, the sports shorts, from the waistband as well. And you want to stretch them out as much as possible. Hang it on the edges if possible as well. Prevent creases and from them to just kind of falling together. So for the last item here, I am going to talk about the sweaters. As you can see, the sweaters here I've laid on top of the line here. It's not really ideal to line dry sweaters at all, especially not woven ones. Now that's good for all woven garments really. They can't really handle the stretching. It's not good for them. But if you have one of these umbrella clothing lines like this ones, then you can do it like this. But realistically, I would rather just do it on a drying rack inside if I wasn't doing this video for you guys. Once you have your clothes ready and hung up, there are a few things that you need to be aware of about this. Now, first of all, you need to watch the weather when you're going to dry clothes outside. You don't want it to suddenly start raining. Also, a problem that many people don't think about is condensation, especially at night. Here, we're starting to approach fall. It's actually the last day of summer as I'm filming this. And there is a lot more damp air at this time of year. So if I don't take this inside at night, and I need it in the morning, what's going to happen is that I'm going to come outside here tomorrow morning and the clothes are going to be damp. So preferably try to watch the forecast as well so that you can prevent this. Ideally, they will be done at night so that you can take them inside. But just be aware that if you're going to leave them out overnight, you're going to increase the drying time since they're going to be damp and they need to evaporate out that dampness as well. Now, once your clothes are finally dried, there are a few little tips that I want to give you to make the folding process easier. First of all, like I said earlier, for the socks, you just want to take them down and kind of fold them together. That way you don't need to do the treasure hunting each time. As for the shirts and things that are hung on actual clothing hangers, this is super easy, right? You can just take them down and they're ready to hang inside. So a little trick that you can do, I guess, is the more clothes you hang on clothing hangers, the easier it is going to take them back inside and store them compared to the ones that are hung on the actual line, because these you will need to fold up later. Now, for the example's sake here, let's just take this damp towel and let's say we're done with this one and we're taking it down. What you want to do is just give it a little bit of shake. Make sure that you get out any dust or whatever may have collected. But it's going to smell nice and fantastic, natural, you know, since it's hanging right outside. And yeah, that's just going to make the folding process a lot easier on you. Beyond that, I really recommend that you take the pegs back inside once you're done using them. Like I talked about earlier, there can be growth on them and they can get dirty, and that will suck the next time you need to use them, right? So yeah, just bring them inside with you once you're done. Take your clothes inside as well. And next, you need to learn how to fold your clothes, and guess who has made tons of videos about that as well? Well, that's me. So you can check that out here next. I'm going to add a link if you want to see that. And if you need any of the products like pegs or clothing lines, if you want an umbrella one like this one, I'm going to find a nice and sturdy one and recommend one to you in the video description. Yeah, thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next one.